Yeah, Thirsty Thursday. Just got back home from the gym Thursday night. Boulder shoulder action. We got a great shoulder workout in tonight. Feeling pumped up, feeling amazing here. Meal prepping. I'm finna finish up with my meal preps in a minute. Quick correctional officer video. I haven't done any correctional officer videos in a minute, man, but I still be seeing a lot of great comments, man. I'm seeing people saying one of my videos they may have watched inspired them or motivated them to put in an application to become a correctional officer. I'm seeing people that saying they're going to the academy. They finally got their start date. They finally got they worked their first week on the floor, on the unit. I love to hear it, man. That's why I do these videos. I want to give people a potential job opportunity to look into. I know times are hard out here. It's people that's looking for jobs. You may be at a job that you don't necessarily like. You trying to switch careers. You may be fresh out of high school, fresh out of college, don't know what you want to do with your life. So I just try to throw people a possible job to look into. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know what I wanted to do when I got out of college. One of my college professors, he worked as a correctional officer at the county jail before he became a college professor. He was like, why don't you try out corrections? So, I tried it out. I almost quit. I had found an inmate that committed suicide like when I was a rookie. And that almost, made me decide to not even pursue this career anymore. I'm like, I don't know if this is for me. But I stuck it out, man. I've been doing it ever since 2011. I've been working in corrections now. So, it's been a good run, 15 years in, and then, it keeps getting better. The good far outweighs the bad, but I want to go over some things, that are important to remember for my people that are just coming in to corrections. You in your rookie year, you going through the application process, you finally get your start date, or you just started working on the floor, man. These are some important things that you got to always remember. You know what I'm saying? It's imperative, and it'll help you have a long career. I want to see you do good. I want to see you have a long career, longevity. I want you to stay safe. I want you to always remember the basics of corrections, man. If you remember that stuff, you will have a long, successful career. So let's get right into the video, though, man. Important things to remember, your first year as a rookie. Look, listen, ask questions, and learn. That's the basics of being a correctional officer. A lot of times you just sitting there and you observing, especially when you're working on a unit, you just observing, man. I just sit there a lot of times and I observe. I see what's going on. I see who's doing what, who's the shot caller, who's the gang leader, who's moving drugs, who got contraband, you know what I'm saying, who's out of bounds, who's not supposed to be on my unit. You just look, man, and if you sit long enough, you will start to pick up on patterns. You will start to notice certain things, man. That's how you become better at your job. In the beginning, the inmates are going to beat you. They know you're a rookie. They know you don't know necessarily anything about corrections. Even if you came from another agency, you worked corrections prior to that. This is a whole new facility, a whole new atmosphere. They're still going to try you, and you're never going to necessarily catch every little thing. That's one thing you got to understand early in your career. You could be on it like Johnny on the spot, man. You doing rounds even when you ain't even supposed to be required to do rounds. You doing rounds every 10 minutes. You could be in the back of the unit searching the inmate, shaking down the cell. Meanwhile, the inmates are all the way in the other side of the unit doing something they're not supposed to do. You're not going to catch everything. Don't try to beat yourself up. Don't think that you're less of a correctional officer. You're a bad officer. It's impossible, man. You got to think we're outnumbered by the inmates at all times. You may work, the facility I work at is about 5,000 inmates, maybe 1,500 correctional and health services staff members total. We're always outnumbered. The inmates got 24 hours, to think of and cook up a skirting scheme. They may find something in that's a security breach. Oh, this brick in the wall's loose. Let me hide my dope up there. And it may take us months before we do a mass shakedown or somebody finally stumbles across it. That's just the nature of the beast, man. You got to control what you can control and keep it pushing at the end of the day. This is the next thing. You got to remember this. Your first year, you're going to be on probation. You're a rookie. This is a condition of your employment at a lot of agencies, man. They can fire you for almost anything in your first year. So my advice to you is to try not to rock the boat too many different ways. What do I mean by that? Don't go in there trying to start your own agenda. Don't try to go in there and butt heads with the upper management. Stand up for yourself if you feel like you have been wrongly, done something wrong against by upper management or one of your co-workers, nothing like that. But, like I said, don't try to rock the boat. Don't go in there trying to do some crazy stuff. Don't be calling in a lot. Don't be, you know what I'm saying? I seen people get fired because they called in too many times during their first year. I remember one dude at my old prison, he called in like on Thanksgiving. Like he was like, they called him, he was supposed to be at work. And he answered the phone. He's like, I'm eating Thanksgiving dinner with my family. And they hung up on the lieutenant, man. He didn't make it past his first year. They could fire you for anything, man. So my best advice for you, keep your head down, learn the job, ask questions, stick to the policy and procedure. That's important right there. Always remember that policy and procedure. Because trust me, the inmates, they know the policy and procedure like the back of their head. They know our job better than we know our job, man. They gonna call you out on it. They quick to write up a memo, man. If you do something wrong and it affects them, man. So when you in the right, you know, and you know your job, what you can and cannot do, what the inmates are supposed and or not supposed to have, you're going to be good 9 times out of 10. You know what I'm saying? If an inmate come up to you complaining of a medical issue, always call medical. Don't deny them medical. Don't deny them their religion. You know, certain things they can have. You know what I'm saying? And this is the next thing. Respect. It takes you a long way in this career. You know, the inmates understand when you got to do a job. You know, it's a certain way that you do your job, man, that can make the difference between you going home safely and you possibly getting into a physical altercation with an inmate. You know what I'm saying? I give every inmate every opportunity, you know, until they take me to that level, man. You got to meet the inmates at the level that they at, you know what I'm saying? And you got to have good verbal communication skills and good de-escalation skills. When stuff pops off on a unit, man, if you could use your verbal communication skills to try to get the situation under control without having to use any physical force, having to pull your OC spray, you know, stuff like that, having to take an inmate down, that's a good day. It ain't about being a tough guy, trying to prove your manhood. I done seen officers, you know, old school cowboys, they quick to take their duty belt off, tell an inmate, let's go in the cell one-on-one. I heard stories like that before I started corrections, man. You ain't gonna last long in this game if you got that type of mentality, man. It's not about proving how tough you are. I see people ask me questions like, do I need to know karate or take martial arts? You know me, y'all know I lift weights and stuff like that. Even though I lift weights and I may be stronger than 99% of the inmates, I still treat them with respect. I still stay on my toes on there, and I never underestimate any inmate. The smallest inmate could be 5'1", 120 pounds. He could be walking around with a shank bigger than him. Soon as you turn your back, man, you disrespecting him, or you know you crossed him a certain way, he'll run up on you and stab you in the neck, man. You wouldn't even probably see it coming, man. It's respect. Respect is going to take you a long way in this career. This is the next thing, man. It's the drug epidemic inside these prisons and these jails today. It's a big drug epidemic, man. There was an officer, he worked in the mailroom at a prison out in California. He died from exposure to fentanyl, man. So I say that to say this. Always stay safe when you searching cells, you patting these inmates down, make sure you wearing gloves. You know what I'm saying? I see so many inmates at the prison I'm at. They falling out almost daily, man, from overdosing, taking drugs, man. They smoking it, cooking it up, man. It's coming in. It's like they got more dope in the prison than on the streets, man. You know, they getting it through dirty staff. They getting it through the mail, visitation, man. So you got to protect yourself, man. You know, you don't want to become a victim. You know, the warden got to call your wife or call your husband or your family, say, unfortunately, you're not going to be coming home because you were exposed to that, man. And you know, sometimes you can't help it. You know, certain situations may arise or immediate use of force where you may come into close contact, man. But when you are able to help it, always wear gloves, always know what you're searching. You know what I'm saying? If you see a funny, suspicious looking substance or powder, they put it on strips of paper, man, they smoking rat poison, all this crazy K2, fentanyl, man, always call for somebody, man, call for backup, man. Play it safe because we got to get back home to our family at the end of the day. This is the next thing. Don't play into work politics, man. You're going to see your first year, it's a lot of work politics, the good old boy clubs, people clicked up. It shouldn't be like that, man. I will say this, you know, when emergencies arise in the prison, all the institutions that I worked at 3 different facilities. When an emergency go down, like a fight, staff needs assistance, man, everybody comes running, and we are camaraderie, be a team. But like I say, man, it's going to be work politics. You're going to hear gossip, rumor mills, people starting stuff about other co-workers. Don't play into none of that, man. I'll be out the loop on a lot of it. I'll just be trying to mind my business, do my job, stay on my unit, and go home and live my best life. I don't care about who's sleeping with who. I don't care about what somebody said about somebody else. I don't be having time for that, man, because the inmates be seeing that too, and the inmates, they be ear hustling. So they'll listen to you talking bad about another staff member, then they'll go back to that staff member and tell them what they said and try to play y'all against each other. That's why you got to think. You got to think and strategize, man. It's a game. It's like a game of chess when you working inside corrections, man. Trust me. Always stay on your toes. Then don't play in it on work politics. This is the next thing. You always got to remember this, man. If you don't remember nothing else I said, safety and security, that's the most important asset of your job, man. You always got to remember security, man. We trying to keep the inmates from escaping, trying to harm themselves, fighting, stabbing each other, getting high, doing stuff they're not supposed to do, man. The most important thing that you do within your tour of duty as a correctional officer is to count. You got to make sure all the inmates are accounted for. They're where they're supposed to be. If they're not where they're supposed to be, you got to count again. They're still not there. Now we got to do emergency count because he could have possibly escaped, man. Then all they need is 30 minutes to an hour. I'm sure y'all seen movies, shows where inmates escape prison, break, escape from Denmark. I watched that movie on Netflix, man, miniseries. You know what I'm saying? That's all it takes is one little lapse of judgment, one little breach of security. That's the most important thing, security of the institution. And right up there with it is safety, man, especially staff safety, man. Always protect yourself. Protect your fellow co-workers. You get into it with an inmate, you find an inmate that's drunk or high, and you working on the unit by yourself. Don't try to confront or take that inmate on by yourself. Always call for backup, hit your body alarm. You know what I'm saying? Scream, shout, help. You see inmates fighting, man. Don't try to run and be the hero. Jump in the middle of that. It could always be a decoy. They could be waiting for you to jump in the middle of it. Then they jump on you, man. Always think safety. Always know where your exits are inside the unit that you work in. Always know, where your nearest co-worker is. You know what I'm saying? If something look fishy, you coming up a hallway, you by yourself, and it's a corner right there, always assume the worst. It could be an inmate waiting right there for you to come around, and he got a shank in his hand. You always got to stay on your toes when you're working in correction. Nothing is ever sweet. Yes, there's a lot of downtime. Yes, there's a lot of sitting around, but you can't get lackadaisical on the job. Always stay on your toes. From the time you punch in, go through that sally port, to the time your relief show up and you leave out. Anything can go down, man. There's been times in my career I'm about to get relieved in 30 minutes and an inmate that fell out, had a heart attack. I was about to get relieved in 30 minutes. I had to run over to the other unit, do CPR on them, man. There's been times where I just showed up for my shift. I wasn't even 15 minutes into my shift. 2 inmates got to fighting on my unit, man. I told them to stop fighting. They wouldn't stop fighting. Got on my walkie-talkie, called it. I got an inmate fight on my unit, and I had the OC spray both of them, man. You just never know. It goes down at any time, any place, anywhere inside the prison. It doesn't matter if it's a holiday. It doesn't matter if you about to get off work, you about to go on vacation. When it goes down, it goes down. Always stay on your toes. This is the next thing. Don't take work home, man. That's important as well, man. You're going to have bad days when you're working in corrections. You may get into a verbal altercation with an inmate. You may have to fight an inmate. You may possibly get spit on. You could possibly get gassed by an inmate in the shoe. An inmate could punch you. He could try to grab you. You just never know what could go down. You may have a busy day on the unit. You had a fight. Few inmates got locked up. You got to pack a bunch of property, medical, all these different departments in the prison calling you, man, blowing you. I need this inmate. I need that inmate. It's like, man, it's a long day, man. You got to remember, when you get relieved and you clock out and you walk through that sally port, man, you got to turn corrections off. Don't take it home with you. You have a bad day. Don't go home, cussing the wife and kids out. You to kick the dog. You grab you a 6-pack of beer out the fridge and you go upstairs and lock the door. Don't do that, man. You can't be in that correctional officer mode 24/7. It's a stressful job. I find ways to deal with the stress. Like I said, it's been good to me. For me, outside of work, I'm big into the gym, going out to eat, traveling. You gotta have a life outside of corrections, man. Don't make that your life. It's like this. When I go to, I don't go to as many of these days, but when I used to go to like work events or work functions, it used to kill me when I run and, see my coworkers and they want to talk about something that happened at work. I'm like, bro, we only at work 8 or 16 hours a day, man, or 12 hours a day. Talk about something else, man. That prison, it's going to be there when we get back. It's not going to burn down if you're not thinking about it 24 hours, man. Have a life outside of work. Like I said, I'm big into the gym. As y'all can see, if you've been following me for a while, you may be interested in poetry, video games, photography. Always have you some hobbies outside of work, man. Don't live for the job. The job is just a way for you to pay bills and provide for your family at the end of the day. This is the next thing. Work out and eat as healthy as you can. If you came into the job healthy, fit, in shape, don't let yourself go. I've seen so many officers, staff members over the year, they come in fairly decent shape. We work a lot of overtime. We work different shifts, odd hours, and they just let themselves go. You know what I'm saying? They start working out. They just start eating fast food. Stay disciplined. It may take you a little longer. I'm big in the gym. I make time for the gym. I make time to do my meal preps. It's going to take you a little longer, man, but it's going to help you out in the long run. Don't let yourself blow up, get sloppy, out of shape, man, because you got to remember this. The inmates, they constantly working out. They in shape. They work out in the rec yard all day, every day. So we got to be in shape just in case we got to fight them. That's how you got to think about it, man. You being in shape, taking care of yourself could be the difference between you get into an altercation with the inmate on the unit, right? And he's on top of you, but you are in shape enough to get him off of you and call for backup versus you out of shape. You can't even walk 10 steps without being out of breath, man. He wearing you out. Bow, 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 bow. You ain't have a chance in hell to reach your body alarm, man. That's how you got to think. This is the last thing, man. Get rest, man. Try to prioritize rest. Like I said, I know you're going to be working night shift. Some of y'all going to be money hungry. It's a lot of overtime opportunities, man. But you got to try to get the rest as much as you possibly can. Last tidbit before I let y'all go, man, too. I always tell the rookie officers, try to save and invest as much money as you can from the get-go in your retirement account, your 401k, your TSP, all of that, man, from the get-go. 15% minimum. The more you can save, the better. You're going to be working a lot of overtime possibly, man. So the money, you're going to be doubling, tripling your salary, man. Try to be smart with the money. Don't try to live above your means. Don't go out and buy the most expensive car, the most expensive house that you can. Live within your means. The goal is to be able to pay all your bills with minimal to no overtime at the end of the month. And if you're working overtime, you got money left over, be smart with it. Pay off debt. You know what I'm saying? Invest it. Buy stocks, crypto, up your life insurance, start a side hustle, start a business. That's how I be thinking, man. I'm just trying to pass along things that I picked up, things that I've taught myself along the way. That's helped me to have a long, successful career. And hopefully I can finish out in the long run, retire. I got, maybe 10 more years and I may call it quits. I may call it quits sooner than that. Who knows, man? But y'all like this video, make sure you subscribe to my channel. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok at The Ghetto Body, but I got the merch for sale. This one of my gym motivational shirts right here. Move, get money, man. I'm big. Let's get the money, man. Like I say, there's plenty overtime, life change. I see co-workers putting their kids through college, paying their houses off early. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that, man. They stacking the money up. A lot of jobs, they don't have overtime opportunities. You may come in at a job, right, and your salary is $70,000. You capped at that. Versus me, I'm a correctional officer. My salary right now is about maybe $75,000. I got time in, so you get salary increases. But with overtime, I'm making well over $130,000, $140,000, $150,000 every year. And like I say, Be smart with that money, man. Stack, save for a rainy day. It might be a government shutdown coming at the end of the month for us federal employees. So like I said, you don't want to be in that situation. You worry because you ain't got your check in a month. How I'm going to pay my bills. Save from the get-go, man. Be smart, man. Trust me, man. Like I said, y'all got any input, thoughts, comments on this video? Drop a comment. I'll be sure to get back with you as soon as I can. Y'all know how we coming. Let's get motivated. Boop.